So we're going to be start looking at the bottom here. So these 4 boxes that we kind of want to style so they look a little bit better. Right now there's, as you can see, there's absolutely no space between the text and this actual 3 icons. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So in our footer underscore bottom, we're going to add just a slight margin. So margin, and we're going to add 40 pixels to the top and then nothing to the rest. So 40, 0, 0, 0. Save, browse, and then do this. So we can see now there's this space between. So that's the first part we want to do. Now we want to style these boxes down here, and they are called footer boxes. So that's the first thing we're going to do with our CSS. Hashtag footer underscore box, create your curly brackets, and then we're going to add different settings to this. In our experience design, you can see there's this line around them, so basically a border, and we're going to add that. It's just called border, and you can separate it if you want. You can do border and style. You can check that out what it is: right style, bottom style. You can do border if they need specific dotted and so on. But again, just like you have margin, instead of writing margin top, left, right and everything, we can just collect it into one. And we just want a border that has 1 pixel solid border. So you can see I can also do something called dotted and every different kind of thing. But I just want that one that's a line with no space between and so on. You can try changing this if you want to see what they can do. And the last part is we want to add a color to the border. And it's going to be this white, almost white color. And let's see what this actually does to the design. So right now we created the borders of this one, but this is white and the text is still black. So we're going to go back to our part here. Instead of going through each of these up here to change the color of each and every one of them, we're just going to use the header level of our CSS and put it up here in the footer. So every item in the footer is going to be colored ed like so, and hit refresh. So instead of us going through header 1 paragraph all the way down, we're just using the entirety of the footer element, everything inside of this. So all this, all the way up here, is being colored white. So that's the next part of this. So let's continue with adding on to our footer box here. So we added the color, and now we want to start doing things to it. We want to add some paddings because right now it's really close to the borders here, and this has more space between it. So I'm going to add 20 on each side. So this right now. So it's starting to look a little bit more like now. It's not enough though. We want to add more to it. In our Visual Studio Code, we're going to do something we already used before. We're going to use something called flex. So flex 1 means that we're going to, it's actually part both flex grow and flex flow. So we're putting them together to say that each of these boxes, so the footer box here, is going to have a width, and that width relies on this part here, so the footer bottom. Right now that is 90% of the browser width. And by using flex 1, we're just telling each box divide this 90% width among each other, among the 4 boxes equally. So this would get 25, 25, 25, 25% width. If we had 5 boxes, it would get 20, 20, 20%. If we had less boxes, like 3, it would get 33.3% for each of them. So let's click save, let's hit refresh and see what happens. So you can see now the boxes actually automatically gained a width. So it's a much easier way to start, instead of us having to, we have to measure 200 pixels, and so on and so on. So just make CSS do this for us. We're also going to add the box sizing border box to make sure if the text here gets bigger or we put an image in, it's not going to expand this and ruin this style. So it's just a fail-safe for this. So we created this, but now you can see up here this suddenly is starting to go a little bit too close to this design, and I want to create a little bit more space between this. So we need to look back at our footer up here. Right now this is the footer element, and it has basically what it needs, but we want to move it a little bit down. Now we could try with margin. So margin top, let's go with 30 pixels, 0, but this means we're going to push this element away from the other one, creating this space here. We just wanted to create space inside it, so instead of using margin, we're just going to use padding. So now it's going to move the items inside the box instead of the entire box. That's a way of doing this. Next thing we want to do is inside here, you can see there's a little bit, the text is a little bit different here, and you can see there are three lines in the center. These are kind of more thick than the others, but that's for the next videos.